Hello YouTube, this is Shirley426 and today we have the review of the 30-minute mission line, the Revernova. Now, once again, I purchased this some time ago, but once again there were a lot of other stuff to review, so this one got also delayed time to time. Now, the Revernova, pretty much when you look at it right away, I think the first thing you would, if you're into Gunpla or into the Gundam universe, I think the first thing that would come into your mind would be that, oh, this is like the 30-minute mission version of the Mobile Suit Dom from the Zeon forces. So yeah, I think that's totally their intention at this point, because even if you look at the description, this thing is slow, but also, well, technically the Dom is supposed to be a fast unit to some degree, but still. It is slightly slower than the Porta Nova, but it has much more armor and technically more firepower, but I think that would depend on which weapon you give it. But still, that is pretty much it. So once again, another thing that unique about this guy is that I think that he was announced with another 30-minute mission line, which is his design is a little bit off. He's much more shorter as far as I know, the other one, but when this guy was announced with that other unit, he was also, in the promo pics, they would show him like a combination between these two guys. So I thought that was very interesting. And now when comparing within the 30-minute mission line universe, I guess this guy would be the countermeasure or the counterpart of the Rabiot from the Earth's Federation forces in the 30-minute mission universe line. So yeah, I guess it technically does make sense, because the whole war started against the Valiant forces and then the Earth's Federation. So yeah. Alright, so now let's get on to the review right away. So let me get them off the stand. Let's see what we got. And yes, I am technically aware of the night design of the 30-minute mission line, the upcoming design. So I am really looking forward for that as well. And then there is also the I think there is another unit that's coming out soon for the Earth Federation forces, but which looks like more of a civilian type unit. So yeah. Anyway, let's see what we got. So obviously one of the biggest changes among or differences between is that, well, it still has the mono eye, but the very plain looking head. That kind of reminds me of the high mocks from the Gundam Build Fighters, but still. Yeah, of course, because of this aspect, moving the head, well, it can go up pretty easily, but then again, you're going to have that gap there. So I'm not sure. This would, I think, each person or hobbyist would have a different opinion regarding these type of gaps. But still, that's just the way how it is. And yes, obviously the mono eye is green, a clear piece green. And so far there is only one color for these guys. Technically, so far the new ones, these new units for the 30-minute mission lines, there hasn't been any color variations yet, as far as I know, other than the past ones that has a premium. Even we have come to the point where there are premium Monlight variants, but the latest molds or the latest ones don't have any color variants as far as I know. So yeah. Alright, so you can go up that much, and then going to the side, surprisingly it is possible, but grabbing onto the head is slightly tricky because of its shape and design, but still it does have the articulation there. Now the shoulders, once again, the shoulders are pretty much your standard ball jointed shoulders, so you can move forward and backward as well. Of course, the whole shoulder armor is a bit of a tight fit, so because once again the way how this works is that you clip on here, but when you actually attach the whole arm all the way in, there isn't much gap between that, and within that gap you have to clip this thing on, which you can see it's almost a perfect fit. So because of that, once you have it on, yeah, your articulation may reduce on the shoulders, but without it, I think you should have much more movement going on here. So that is one slight tricky part, but still it is still manageable. And once again, the arms are still using C-clip type joints, because these are 30-minute mission lines, and they that's the whole point of these guys, so they can be easily modified and customized. So with the shoulder armor on, so you can still go 360 with no problem on the entire arm. Going to the side, once again, you can technically go more than 90 degrees, because that's just the way how it is. And then now, despite the more beefy look, you can still go 360 on the arm, but make sure that nothing is colliding with each other. And then because of the C-clip type joints, folding the arms are no problem as well, so you still get that good range of movement. Alright, and just to point out, so once again we have a port here, so there's a hole here, and then like on the shoulders we do have the C-clip type, you have the joints that you can attach the C-clip as well. And hands are your still typical ball jointed hands, and then once again on the back of the shoulders there's also these holes, and also on the arms as well. Just to point out, obviously, because there are no stickers applied to this guy, obviously, and then once again this is this chest piece is a separate piece as well, so you are technically able to take it off. But once again, yeah. So basically, this part is a separate piece on its own, so you are technically able to take it off. But once again, without the proper like position, it is a little bit tricky to get out. But yeah, you are able to do so. Alright, so the main waist section, or the main connection between the body and the waist, it's still the same connection like the previous 30-minute mission lines, where you get that L-shaped, you know, joint looking thing, and then you put 2 polycap ball joints so you can move forward and backward, so you do get a nice ab crunch. And then going side to side is also possible. And then going 360, I'm going to say no, because the waist, the middle section is actually colliding with other areas, so that's a no. Alright, and now looking at the side waist section itself, or actually before the waist section, let's get the backpack quickly. So we have a backpack, well, kind of a backpack. I don't see any thrusters or anything, so it's a very simple looking backpack. It seems like these giant holes, you can maybe attach a polycap ball joint inside it, because there is like one of those indications over there. So, and then once again, more C-clip type joint connecting areas as well, and a normal port here. Although this one actually has like a small tooth here, so you can somehow lock in something in place if the peg has like another extra teeth there. So yeah. Now the waist section, once again, it's pretty much your standard stuff. You have the side skirts going on here, no back skirts, but you do actually have a front skirt. Now instead of being ball joints, these are actually connected as pegs here. So yeah, I mean, this is not exactly the first time seeing these front skirts as pegs, but still just letting you guys know. And then once again, we do get a nice side swivel going on here. So going forward, because of the whole bulky design of the legs, going 90 degrees up front is going to be tricky, because it's going to be colliding with a lot of stuff. So yeah, 90 degrees is going to be tricky. Going backwards, no problem as well. But once again, you still have the, you know, this hinge joint where you can actually, you know, reposition the leg. Then you should be able to go 90 degrees up front if you want to do so. And if you want to make it look taller, I guess that is also possible by pulling the whole like downwards like that. Of course, the only part that might be bothersome to some people is that you might feel like this area is out of place. So just letting you guys know. All right, one thing that I'm not too satisfied is that these parts on the side here, well, I mean, they're not loose by any means, but also at the same time, they're not too, when you attach it, they don't give you any satisfying connection. You feel like you have to be aware of this to some degree. So that's just my slight, way of saying that I'm not too satisfied with the connection here. And then obviously side swivel is still there, and then going to the side, once again, because of the side skirts and this part, it's going to be blocking the way. So maybe you can twist it or take it off, and then maybe you can go to the side a little bit more. But once again, 90 degrees to the side is going to be tricky with everything on. So if you take this part off, it is technically possible. And then bend-wise, despite how bulky it looks, well, technically, yeah, despite how bulky it looks, you still have a little bit of bend, but not all the way here. So I would say because of the joint style, you do have the articulation here, but it's all blocked by its own design. So articulation is there, it's just the design of the unit that's blocking its own articulation there. Feet-wise, once again, huge, gigantic feet. Just to give you guys an idea, here is the feet of the Rabiot. So huge feet, which is usually a good indication that this won't have any balance issues, or most of the time. So once again, giant feet, but you still have a nice ball joint connection here. So oops, sorry about that. So the feet itself actually is still a C-clip type joint, but the bottom section is connected to a ball joint, or polycap ball joint to be more specific. So with that in mind, you do get a decent pivot, but not the most perfect pivot. You can see me twisting the feet and then snapping off the C-clip. So not exactly the ideal joint, but still works. And then you can go forward and backward. All right, so we've seen the basics of the articulation here. So despite how bulky it is, I think it does get the job done. Once again, this guy is not supposed to be like an agile unit. He's supposed to be a heavy tanker type unit. So I guess everything all matches up and checks up. Now let's look at the weapon right away. So because there's not much to show other than when it comes to equipment for 30-minute mission lines, and just to give you guys an idea in terms of size, they're roughly the same size or height, but definitely I think the Rabiot may feel like a little bit taller because of its overall design. But once again, I would say they would be the same class type. So, and then here we have the weapon. Now, according to the manual or the lore, is that this is like a mid-range weapon type. So, and once again, I believe 30-minute mission stuff don't actually have any specific names for their weapons. So this rifle here, or this long-range rifle, or this mid-range rifle, is composed of 4 parts. So number one is this handle. It can take it out, and then the front part, that's 2, and then this back part, you can actually detach the magazine here. So that's technically 4 parts. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of, when it comes to weapons, the front barrel being attached like a peg like this. I would prefer if this was a whole single piece, but still, that's just the way how it is, how I prefer it. Now, you can see the peg is on the one, it was on the top, but if you want to do so, you could technically put it on the bottom if you want to. So it's really up to your preference. For now, I'm just going to follow the manual, and that's just the way how it is. So technically, the manual first tells you to build something like this, but once again, if you have a handle here, I think there's only one obvious thing to do. So you can plug in the handle without no problem. You don't need to take off the handguard, and once again, despite how limited the shoulder articulation was, it actually can reach all the way to the second handle with no problems as well. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy about how this guy turned out. So I think I'm not sure if it's already out yet, but I am willing to get that other unit that was announced with this guy, so I can try the combination or do something, you know, crazy about it. Anyway, that is pretty much it for the Revernova. So this is basically the tanky type of the Porta Nova, if you ask me. And yeah, and if you always wanted to have a counterpart of the Rabiot, this is definitely your guy to get. So, and obviously there's already people, you know, recoloring this guy in purple to give the reference of the Dom. So yeah, there's just so much stuff you can do with this. So for me, when it comes to 30-minute mission lines, I tend to review just the base kit, but you can do just so much more than that, because you have all these ports here, and then you have these C-clip type joints here. So, and then there's even Gunpla that uses C-clip type joints, and then for the 30-minute mission lines, it's Bandai is pretty much one of the new lines that they're pushing out these days. There's so many option parts out there, so you can totally make your own unit if you want to do so with this line. So for me, I tend to review the base unit, but there are just so much stuff you can do with that, so keep that in mind. Anyway, that is pretty much it for the review. So once again, if you always wanted to have a tanky type, you know, a tankier looking, you know, Porta Nova, this is definitely your guy. Anyway, that's pretty much it. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.